What is team-based learning?
Team-based learning is an innovative and structured way of teaching and learning that offers a structure for students and requires them to work in teams to be successful. So the key thing is that it's very structured. So it's not your traditional university task of go off and work in a group and do this in your own time. It's very structured and it all happens in the classroom. So that's the brief summary. Do you want me to talk you through the structure of team-based
Dig
learning?
in for us, Gemma. We're here to talk about teams, so don't spare us on the details.
There's several kind of key aspects of team-based learning that have to be in place for it to work properly. And we have found that if we take any of these out, it doesn't work as well. So the first thing we do is the teacher allocates teams, diverse teams. So we don't let the students choose their own teams and pick their friends. We deliberately form the teams so that they're made of a diverse group of people. So we might use academic grade, gender, if students are international students, if they're resitting, and we divide those through all the teams. So the students are put into teams of between 5 and 7 students in each team. And we have cohorts of anywhere between 200 and 250 students in our M farm. So they're split into small groups, and that's the first thing that we do is put them into teams. The whole program is divided into units. So for a module that runs across a year, we might have 7 or 8 units in that year, and each unit lasts for 2 to 3 weeks. So before the unit starts, the students are given pre-work. And so that can be some reading, it can be watching some videos, listening to podcasts, and they do all of that individually in their own time. So that's the individual aspect to team-based learning. So they do that pre-work. Then right at the beginning of the unit, we do what's called a readiness assurance test. And there's 2 components to that. There's an individual readiness assurance test, which the students do individually. So that's taken under exam conditions, and it's based on the pre-work. So it's quite low-level questions. They're not particularly complex, but it's checking that the students have understood the pre-work. And then after they've done that individual readiness assurance test, they take exactly the same test again, but in a team. So they then get into their teams, work together to undertake that test again. And in the traditional way, you'd use a scratch card for that. And so the team has to agree which answer they think is right. They're looking at a multiple choice question. And say they think A is right, they scratch off A and they get a star if it's the right answer. So they know instantly that it's the right answer or it's the wrong answer. And if it's the wrong answer, they obviously have to go back and discuss again and decide what they think is the next best answer. So the students do work through all the questions in the team. So by the end of the TRAT, we call it the Team Readiness Assurance Test, they've had instant feedback on their individual test because they know what they got right and wrong, and they should know what all the right answers are because they've seen it from these scratch cards. And they get points depending on how quickly they get the answer right. So if they get it right at first attempt, they get 4 points. If it takes till the third attempt, then they get 1 point. And obviously, if it takes all 4, then they get 0 points. So then after that, we have a process where the students are able to ask questions, clarify anything they didn't understand. They can appeal if they don't agree with the questions or the answers. And so we talk through the findings from that process and identify what they've actually understood and what they haven't understood. So after they've done the readiness assurance process, they then move on to application exercises. And these are much more complex questions that they do in their teams. So they will have for example, a scenario, a healthcare scenario, and they discuss the scenario together, and they have to make a specific choice as part of that task. So all the groups are working on the same task at the same time. They have to make a specific choice, and then they do what's called a simultaneous reveal. So they all have to hold up their answer in front of everybody else. So if you've got 150 students in a room, all the groups hold up their answer at the same time. So often it's a multiple choice question, and they'll hold up their answers so they can all see each other's answers. So that requires application of knowledge for the application exercises. They're more complex than the questions that are asked in the readiness assurance process. And then we have an inter-team discussion where the facilitator will say, you chose C for this. Why did you choose it? That group justifies their answer, and then we might go to someone who's chosen A and ask them why they think the other group was wrong. And we have a good 20 minutes discussion about all the rationale behind their answers that they've chosen and why one answer might be wrong and the other might be right. So the majority of the classroom time actually is taken up with these application exercises, which are the deeper level questions. And then the final component to team-based learning is peer evaluation. So we ask the students to evaluate each other. They evaluate everybody in their team. And we do that at Bradford, we do that twice a year. So we do it formatively, that's just for feedback for the students halfway through, and summatively at the end of the year, where the students actually get a mark based on the feedback that their team members give them. So that gives them some incentive as well to be good team members. So that's team-based learning in a nutshell.